Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, hi, I'm Brittany. Welcome. So today we're filming a very exciting video. We're going to be doing a review over the Pur X RawbeautyKristi palette. I'm so excited to review this. I'm going to be telling you guys all about my experience ordering this palette because I did purchase it myself. We're also going to be doing two looks, one with the neutral side and one with the colorful side. So if you guys want to see my thoughts, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so this baby retails for $34 on Pur's website and you get 18 shades. And so with tax and everything, I ended up paying $36.40, and they did include a little freebie in there, or actually it's a full size. But this is a retractable brown pencil, and so I was excited to see that. And then they also included a 25% off coupon for my next order just because of all of the crazy madness that happened. So that being said, I am going to tell you guys about my experience first. So I was on the site really early in the morning. I actually woke up at 7 because I didn't want to miss it, and then when it finally started, I was on there and I just tried and tried. I even got Christian to try, and so we were just going back and forth. And I noticed that every time you try to add something like the lashes, because I did want to buy the lashes too, it would completely like redirect you, and it was just like a big mess, honestly. But I don't think it was Kristi's fault or Pur's fault. I just felt like they weren't really prepared for as many people as there was on the site. So with that being said, for hours and hours and hours we tried, and it just kept kind of kicking us off every time. And some of the times we even put our card information and everything, we completely finished everything, and then it would just kick us off. And so it was kind of really frustrating, honestly. And at some point I finished everything, and then it kind of took me to the home screen, which was different because it didn't like give me an error message, and I kind of felt like it had worked, but at the same time it didn't give me a confirmation email, so I didn't know if it worked or not. So I just kept trying and trying for hours. And then later that night, I had been trying all day. I just stayed like with my laptop open, kind of going throughout my day, just rechecking and refreshing. But then they updated the site to where you would wait in line, and so I was also in that line, and then I ended up getting through. I got through around 3 in the morning, and it was crazy because RawbeautyKristi, she said to get off the site if you're like in the 20,000s or something, because you're probably not going to get it and you would have to wait for the restock. And I was a little bit over that number that she said, and I was like, let me just like keep trying, maybe I'll get it. I just really wanted to support her and pick it up and do a review for you guys. So I was just like, I'm just gonna try it. If it doesn't happen, I mean, she told me it wouldn't happen and I would probably have to just get it during the restock, but it actually went through and I was so excited. But when I went to check my bank account information, I noticed it charged me twice. So that means that like early that morning, it wasn't in the morning, it was like at 1 o'clock, that one had actually went through. And so they charged me twice, and I didn't want 2 palettes because I wanted someone else to have the opportunity to get it, because I know it was such like a hot thing and like so many people were trying, and I just felt bad getting 2 when I didn't need to, if you know what I'm saying. So I automatically canceled the first order, and thankfully I got it. And it was so crazy because even though with all that madness and everything, I got it pretty quickly. I think it took like 4 days, which was amazing. And plus they sent the coupon and the free gift. So I honestly am not mad about the situation. It was a little bit frustrating, but honestly, things happen and stuff goes crazy when a lot of people love one specific person. Now, speaking of RawbeautyKristi, I love her so much. I look up to her. You guys know that in my Q&A, I told you if I had like a dream collaboration, it would be with her or Bailey Sarian. I just relate to her so much. She loves animals just like me. When I was little, I actually wanted to be a veterinarian. I don't know, I just relate to her, and she's also hilarious and so beautiful. And so I had to support her by getting her palette. Just so you guys know, I did receive my refund. I was scared I wasn't gonna get it because I emailed them telling them to cancel the order, which they did cancel right away, but I didn't receive my refund for a while, and I was super scared that they were just gonna like leave it like that. But I ended up getting my refund before they even emailed me back. I think it's just because they had a lot of emails to like reply to, if you know what I'm saying. But it's kind of cool that they did cancel it right away because someone else had the chance of getting it. And so that was my experience ordering the palette. It definitely was an all-day thing, but I totally think it's worth it to support Kristi and also Pur. I do like them as a brand. So this is the box that it comes in. I love that they have her face on the back. I kind of wish it was on the palette. And then it shows you all the colors. And then on the packaging, it has all her like doodles of her life. I love everything. I love that she put her husband's face on here and her cat because like I said, I just love animals. So starting with the neutral side, this one is the one that has the rose gold lettering. So in this one, you get 8 matte shades and 1 shimmer. So I first started my look off with the color My Whole Heart, which is a really pretty skin tone matte shade. And I feel like if you're a little bit lighter than me, it could pull more peachy, but on me, it's like my perfect skin tone. So I use that kind of as a base to like set my concealer. And that is when I noticed that these powders are pretty softly pressed, so I did have some kickback. Then I took the color Camelot, which is this beautiful mustard shade, and I used that as my transition shade. But before I went in, I definitely made sure to tap off my brush because like I said, they're super soft, so they have a ton of kickback. They actually remind me a lot of the Anastasia eyeshadows, but with that being said, that just means that you're gonna get super duper pigmented looks. This is called a pressed pigment palette, and that is probably why, because they are straight pigment. Then I took the color Told You and packed that into my crease. I really packed it on. This color is so beautiful. It reminds me a lot of Cocoa Bear from Makeup Geek. It's such a beautiful warm brown. Then I went back in with that Camelot color to blend it out, and this is when I noticed that these shades actually blend better if you blend them along the way instead of like packing them on and blending them out later. Because they are so pigmented, they kind of stain the eyes, so whenever you go to blend them out later, it's kind of harder to blend and it starts to look patchy. And so with the other eye, I actually tried that trick where I was just blending on the way instead of just packing it on, and it blended a lot easier and it looked a lot nicer. It didn't look patchy at all. Then to deepen up the look further, because I did want to do a dramatic look, because I wanted to try to use as much colors as I could, even though it is the neutral side of the palette. So I took You're Not My Real Dad, which is a very deep chocolatey brown, and I use that to add definition. And the same thing with this shade, you want to make sure you're blending along the way or else it will look patchy, but this color is so beautiful. I'm so glad that she added this rather than a black, because when blacks are in palettes, I actually don't use them that often. I feel like I gear more towards dark browns, and so I really like this shade. So like I said, I wanted to use as much colors as I could, so I did cut the crease so we could have more room to work with. And then I took the color It Just Does, which is a beautiful peach shade. This would be awesome as a transition shade as well, but I wanted to use it as a lid shade to give me a nice pop. And so I popped that all over the lid. It was so beautiful, so pigmented. You want to be careful that you don't have any fallout with this one though, because it will stain. And then to make everything nice and seamless, I took on the very outer part of the cut crease, I took the color B, which is another dark brown, but it's not as dark as the one we were using before. And I just kind of used that as a transition shade to the outer corner, so everything just blended really nicely together. So now it was time to try out the shimmer, which is called Golden Ticket. It's a beautiful gold shade. I was super excited to use this. And so I wanted to try the technique that she was saying in her video, that you could use it kind of as a topper to make any of the shades in the palette, because there are a lot of matte shades, to change them to a shimmer. And so that's what I did. I used a brush at first, but I noticed I was getting quite a bit of fallout because the little flecks of glitter were falling onto my cheeks. And so that's when I tried to use my finger. Now my finger did work a little bit better, but it just wasn't making the matte shadow look like a shimmer. It just looks like we were kind of just putting a little bit of glitter on top, and I honestly liked the way it looked before when it was just all matte. But whenever I did use that shade in the inner corner, which we'll talk about later, it applied differently. So let's move on to the lower lash line. So the lower lash line, I pretty much used all the same mattes that we used on the top, and everything blended out perfectly. I had no issues with the browns this time. It just looks super smoky and nice. And then I took that same shimmer and I packed it on the inner corner, and it looks so beautiful. I love this as an inner corner highlight. I feel like if you pack it on with a brush, it looks so much better than using it sheer like we did on the lid. And then I also did the same thing under the brow, and everything just like came together after this. It looks so beautiful. I love the way the look ended up turning out. The only color I didn't get to use that I really wanted to was called Moo Point, which is the mauve shade in the palette. I just don't think it would have went with the look that I was going for. But I did notice whenever I swatched this side of the palette that that one was the driest. So I do want to try it out. I honestly don't think I'll have a problem with it on the lid. I think it was just a little bit chunky when I swatched it because it's very sheer, and I kind of went in with my finger. And so yeah, those are my thoughts on the neutral side. Now let's go ahead and move on to the colorful side. And this one has chrome letters. So for the colorful side, I'm actually wearing the look that I created. So a little spoiler right here, but I first started out with the color Lumos, I think is how you say it, which is the white in the palette, and oh my gosh, I was not expecting so much pigment. So I had already set my eyelid with translucent powder because I had to do some things before filming and I didn't want it just to like have creases on it, so I did set it with the translucent powder. And so usually I'll go in with one of these shades, either white or a skin tone shade, to set my concealer, but since I already had done that, I still wanted to go in with the white to see like what it looked like. And oh my gosh, girl, she is pigmented. So I packed it on kind of under my brow and I really like the way it looked. And it's just a really good white. So for this side, I also went in with the yellow as a transition. This one is called Dandelion. Now, honestly, for these yellows, I feel like they're pretty similar. The only difference is that this one is a little bit lighter on the colorful side than Camelot, which is the other one, and that one is more mustardy. Hopefully you guys can tell right there, but they're very, very similar. I honestly don't think this palette needed both, because you could take the one from the bright side and mix it a little bit with maybe Told You to make it a little bit more mustardy. Like, I just feel like you could, you know, mix it around and make it more mustard. So I honestly don't think the palette needed both, but I do love a good yellow. So moving on with this look, I took the color Side Effect next because you guys know I had to use the pink in the palette because my favorite color ever is pink. And oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. It blended so good with the yellow that the yellow actually changed the color of the pink and kind of made it this orange color. So that's when you know that they mix very, very well together. So I did have to go in with the pink more and pack it on to make sure it still looked pink and not orange, if you know what I'm saying. If you want more of like a blended look, you could have left it the other way, but I wanted the pink to stand out, so I just packed on more color. Then I took the color Tribute, which is the beautiful purple in the palette, and I also packed that onto my crease. Now I noticed with this colorful side, me packing on really didn't mess with the way it was blending like the neutral side. So these blend amazing. Honestly, the colorful side is my favorite side of this whole palette. But anyways, when I first put that purple on, I was scared that it wasn't gonna blend out because it looked pretty patchy. But once I started blending after I packed it on, it blended out so good. And like I said, these colors just melt together. So I did have to go back in with more purple, but it just looks so pretty. Like, do you guys see this blend right here? Like, oh my god, I love it. They just all melt together. So because that Tribute shade was so pigmented, I kind of lost the pink, and that's when I decided, hey, I'm just gonna use the pink on the lid. And I was just winging all of these looks, guys. I was just playing around with the palette. So I packed on that pink straight onto the lid after I cut my crease and everything, and it was so beautiful. I just love this shade of pink. It's so pretty. And then for the outer corner, I wanted to use a different color so we could put more on the lid. So I went into the color Garden State, and oh my gosh, guys, this is the best teal I've ever used. Usually when I use the color teal in other palettes, it pulls very green on my eyes, and then it just kind of looks like an olive green or like a Christmas green. This one stays straight up teal. Like, do you guys see that? Like, it's insane. And it blended beautifully with that pink color. It kind of made a purple, and so it just created this beautiful blend. So I tried to do the same thing that we did on the other side by turning one of the mattes into a shimmer. So the shimmer in this palette is called Cafe Disco. It's so beautiful. So I took a brush and put it on top of the matte pink that we had on the lid, and this is what I'm talking about by it turning into a shimmer. So I think this one is definitely a better topper than the other one, just because it actually looks like I put a shimmer on my lid. It doesn't look like a matte and that we like threw shimmer on top, if you know what I'm saying. It just blends well together. I think it's just because this shimmer has more multi effects in it, so it looks a little bit more 3D. And then for the lower lash line, I did the same thing. I used all the mattes that we did on the top, and they all just blended so nicely together. I just love the blend of all these colorful shades. And for the inner corner, I packed on that Cafe Disco color, and it looks so beautiful packed on. Like, look how metallic this is. It's insane. Now, I did use a little bit of Fix Plus off camera and kind of wet it, and that's how I got it this intense. And the reason I had to do that is because off camera my eye was watering and I kind of rubbed off the other like the other layer that we had on there. So I packed it on wet, and oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. But on my brow bone, I didn't use it wet, and it's a really nice shimmer, and I just feel like this is my favorite look of all time. Like, it's so beautiful. I feel like a beautiful peacock right now. And so yeah, guys, those are the looks I used creating this palette, and oh my gosh, so far so good, especially with the colorful side. Like I said, that's my favorite. But now that I found out like how to work with the neutral side, I also love that. So far so good. I'm really impressed with Pur's quality of eyeshadows. I don't know if it's different than their other eyeshadows because like I said, I've never tried them. But if you guys do have any questions for me, leave it in the comments down below. Let me know if you guys are gonna pick this up during the restock or if you guys already have your palette, because I know the restock is going on right now, and I'm kind of thinking about using that 25% off coupon and buying the lashes and maybe a restock of my foundation because I'm running out. But yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, BritanyRaquell, go ahead and subscribe. I post every week for you guys, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Bye! Where's my makeup wiper?